Real history, genuine education, no nonsense. Welcome to the Steam and Splendor Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Steam and Splendor Network podcast. This is your host, Tad Fitch.
And I'm J. Kent Layton.
It's great to be back with everyone. It's been several weeks since we've been able to do an episode. We've been very busy preparing content for everyone, and plus our personal lives, family lives. So there's a lot going on right now. Some
Work
exciting
schedules.
Yeah, some exciting content coming up as well that we've been working on. Tom Linsky's on the road with some projects he's working on for Part-Time Explorer, so unfortunately he can't join us today, but we really wanted to do this episode as a one-year anniversary look back and retrospective of everything that's happened on the Steam and Splendor Network over the course of this first year. It's hard to believe that it's been that long already. It really has flown by, hasn't it?
The months have really flown by, yeah. I was shocked when I looked and I was like, oh, we launched in October of 24. The first anniversary must be coming up. And then I looked at the date and I'm like, it's just a few days away. It really caught me off guard. I can't believe it's been a whole year.
This definitely snuck up on me as well. And there's some interesting things to look at. Some of the stats for our channel were up to nearly 6,000 subscribers now, which we're very grateful for the support. We have around 60 videos. It says 52 weeks, and we're doing one video per week on average. Some weeks we've had some additional content plus the podcast. We've done 5 live streams.
Yep.
And how many original series have we launched now on the channel?
I believe we have 7 that we've launched, including this week's episode, which was the first of the Historic Treasures series that we put out, the one about Britannic's Welty pipe organ that was never installed. And of course, depending on how you count it, that could rise to 8 because of all of the performances by our friends at the White Star Line Quintet. So really, it's kind of 8 full series that we've been doing.
And it's amazing too, because when we envisioned this content for the channel, we had some episodes that were lined up for that initial launch, and there's some things that have come out since then that really have expanded what our original scope was in a positive way. So it's been kind of a natural evolution that way.
Yeah. We've also, I mean, we were just looking through some of the stats before we started recording this podcast, which of course we should probably tell our audience, even though it's going to be released the week after our first anniversary, Tad and I are actually recording this episode on Saturday, October 18th, which is the exact first anniversary of our channel's launch. So this is the anniversary episode. But we were so surprised when we looked back that with fewer, just under 6,000 subscribers right now, I think we'll hit that 6,000 mark in the next week or so. We have managed to get something like 400,000 views on our content since we launched in the last year, and that's a really incredible ratio. Because if you do the math, if you've got 6,000 subscribers now, and of course that's an upward curve because you start with 0 and then you work your way up. In that year, that means that even compared to the nearly 6,000 that we have now, that means we have 66 times our current subscriber base in our view count. And what that really means is that we have a very, very active audience. They're enthusiastic about our work. You can see that from the comments that we get on every episode that we do. Everyone is just thrilled. I remember last month an episode dropped and they left a comment and they said, how have I not heard about this channel before? This is, how have I not heard it's here? So we see that you as an audience are very, very involved. You're very interested in the work that we do, and we really appreciate everything you've put into watching the content that we've produced.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. We're very grateful. And it's been pretty gratifying, I'll be honest, to see the level of engagement from viewers and the number of comments and discussions that take place in the threads with our videos. And we try really hard to engage with those that are watching the videos. I think in most cases we've been able to respond to the vast majority of those comments. And there's been some surprising things. I noticed the other day on one of the videos, there was a relative of Albert Horswell who had commented, and that was something that was we've seen a few times where there's been somebody with a personal connection to either the Titanic or one of the other ships we're discussing, and that's nice to see, and that certainly encourages us and makes us want to produce more content when we're helping tell the story that their relatives were impacted by.
Absolutely, because when you go back to it, you can talk about channel stats, and you can talk about, oh, I have this many subscribers, or this many videos, or this many watch hours, or all of that, and that's an interesting element of it, I think. But honestly, the reason we do what we do is not for subscriber numbers. It's not, really what we're doing this for is for history. We started out, got our start in this field with writing. First it was articles, then it progressed to books, and this has really kind of been a springboard to launching a channel, because let's face it, in the 21st century, people may not be as inclined to pick up a book to find their answer to a question as they once were, and they usually will Google search, and that will take you to YouTube. And so it's important for us to be able to put good content out on YouTube and to make that available around the world. But for us, it's more the history than it is just a numbers game. I've got 500,000 subscribers. Well, that's fine, but what's the quality of your content? Does it honor the people who were involved in these, let's face it, frequently tragedies, were there when history happened? Does it respect their families? That's a very important thing for us, because we've met survivors or survivors' family members, and we know how those events kind of ripple through time. So it's been a real journey so far. We've had a lot of highlights so far, a lot of really good things, but it's always been about the history and not about us. And I think that's maybe you agree with me, maybe that shapes to some extent why we're behind the camera instead of being in front of the camera so much.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that's important for listeners and viewers to know is that even though we've put out a lot of books and content on this channel and a lot of projects we've been involved in, that this is not something that we're doing for a living. We have day jobs. Now, certainly the channel, we need to bring in a certain level of revenue just to keep the lights on, so to speak, for getting archival materials and animations and things of that sort. So I'm not going to say that there's no level of revenue that we can do this with nothing, but this isn't something we're doing for a living. So when we put content out, we're very mindful about this being a scholarly level and accurate as possible, and not just doing it for clickbait to get views and subscribers. And obviously with the dawn of AI and some of the lazy things that we see on some other channels, and not even necessarily channels, there are sometimes fake channels that are completely computer generated. That doesn't tell anybody anything that's accurate and doesn't preserve the memory of those involved. So we're very much about the integrity of the history and maintaining that, and the quality, as we say on the channel, no nonsense. So that's something we really do keep in mind. We want to produce as much content as possible, but we're not going to lower our standards just to try to raise our subscriber count to a certain amount. Because at the end of the day, would it be nice to make a living being purely history, which is our passion and interest? Sure. But that's not our reality. That this is something that we're doing as a side gig, so to speak, for people to get good quality content. And that focus is something that we want to maintain as we go forward.
Yeah, to preserve that history and keep it as intact as possible, considering there's so many negative influences on history these days. As you say, AI, I mean, that's really exploded in the past year with all the Facebook pages that you can see they're just pulling their content from AI. It's like, really? But you see these posts, they get 500 likes, 1,000 likes, 10,000 likes. It's like, how does that even work? And so sometimes it can be, you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle, but it's important for us to, the saying is keep it real. Um, we have to keep that level of scholarly research, and our research is ongoing. To be perfectly frank, there's a lot of revisions to our older work that we've identified, things that need to be tweaked moving forward, and those are things that are in the work. But the beauty of having the channel is that we can move very quickly, and we can say, okay, we need to get this out there because this is a hot topic right now. And it allows us to really go where the conversation is at that given time, and in some cases, hopefully even lead the discussion in a positive direction too.
And something that you said there really struck a chord when you said it. We're not perfect. We try to maintain as highly of accurate information as possible when we put that out to the public. But everyone, like everybody else, we make mistakes occasionally. And anybody that's watching the videos on our channel, make sure that you're looking at the episode descriptions, because when we have had something small that's popped up that needs to be corrected, or in most cases, not even a correction, it's more of a clarification on something that was maybe unclear or that we wanted the viewers to understand, we'll put little history comments in some of those videos, either correcting something or elaborating on it. So like you said, we're constantly revising our own work. That's something that we want to do. So make sure you read the descriptions too, not just watch the videos. There's sometimes some little tidbits in there that are useful for viewers to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know about you, but the year has absolutely flown. October 24 to October 25, here we are 1 year later on the first anniversary of launching the channel. We've had a lot of twists and turns and things that we didn't expect, but we've had a lot of highlights along the way. A lot of things that, for me, I was looking at the list of things that we've accomplished in the past year, and it kind of charged me up. It really got me kind of excited looking at the positives of what we've accomplished. So we thought maybe what we would do is just take a little bit of time to go back through and talk about some of the things that we really enjoyed. Hopefully our viewers enjoyed as well. And if you haven't had a chance to see some of this content that we're still excited about having done, maybe you'll go back and you'll see some of that older content, and it'll be interesting to you. I think the first thing that I was looking at was our Titanic Day by Day series. That was an interesting story because we didn't know if we were going to be able to pull that off going into it.
Yeah, that was quite something, that whole process.
For a small channel with everyone very busy with different projects, many people may not remember, we're still involved in the Lusitania, the Greyhound's Wake project. It's going on behind the scenes from HFX Studios. We're still working on the revisions to On a Sea of Glass Volume 4. We've been very busy on that with Bill. We've been doing other research that will shape those revisions. So we didn't know going into it, are we going to be able to do, 10 episodes, 11 episodes in 14 days? That was, it was a lot. But looking back, I think that was a real highlight for the channel. And it really helped kind of people get in the mindset of April 1912, kind of bringing those portions of our books to life and helping them to be, kind of mentally prepared for when the anniversary, when we do our annual live stream with Tom. I mean, suddenly it feels real.
And that's a good point, because when we were working on these, I know one of the things that you and I had talked about was, obviously there's commonly known incidents and events that have to be integrated into those because it's a big part of the story, but there was a lot of very important but smaller or lesser known details that we integrated into those videos, and some of that has been in On a Sea of Glass, recreating Titanic, or some of our articles, but there's some information that we included that were not touched on because it was beyond the scope of what we were writing in the books. So if you've read our books and watched those videos, you get a more complete picture of what those events were in the proper context. And it's interesting because there was somebody that had asked us, I think I think it was one of the comments on the videos, is why we didn't do one for the sinking itself, because we do up to the point basically where the live stream takes over, the anniversary live stream we do with Tom and on Part-Time Explorer. And the reason we didn't do that is because we kind of rolled right into the live stream, and people get to experience it that way. And if we did a video that was recounting those same events, it's kind of redundant in a way. So it's a little bit more interactive to watch those videos and kind of keep up during the course of the week or so lead up to the events, and then watch that live stream in real time is pretty impactful if somebody has the time and interest to do so.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we actually made a playlist on our channel that people can watch with not just the day-by-day videos from April 1st through the evening of April 14th, but we also put the link to the 2025 live stream that we did with Tom as the next video after the April 14th video ends. And then we also added in the video that Tom released on his channel, which was, I don't want to use the word brutal, but it was deeply emotional and impactful video that he did about the body recovery work that was done after the Titanic disaster. That was a very, very sad episode that brought the human scale of the tragedy to life. And we put that in kind of as the end of that playlist for 2025 to kind of leave everyone with that. Yeah, Titanic, a lot of people are rivet counters. They like the technology, the how did the ship sink, but this was a human tragedy. And when we leave it there on that emotional level, it kind of has an impact. So if you haven't watched that playlist on our channel, go back and watch from April 1st right through the end of that very sad part-time explorer video on the body recovery, and get a box of tissues, because it really shows just how sad the whole disaster was.
And that's true. And I don't want to, when we frame it that way, as it being a really emotional, sad video, the body recovery one, that's certainly true. Anybody that has any ounce of empathy as a human being couldn't watch that and not be impacted by it. But it's interesting, and I hope he won't be embarrassed by me saying this, but I know there is one part in particular regarding the recovery of the baby, the Goodwin baby, that really impacted Tom when he was narrating that. And I'm a father also, so I think it hits harder than it would have prior. I still would have been impacted by it, but you don't have to be a parent to watch something like that and to be able to connect and feel what really was the result of that disaster. Like, we think about the movies and we think about the documentaries and the cultural image of Titanic, but that is something that really ties it back in to, this is something that really happened to real people. And that element that sometimes gets overlooked, it's like almost like not seeing the forest through the trees. I mean, people miss
Right.
that aspect of it because it's such a mythological almost event at this stage. It's so far removed, and it's very easy to lose sight of that. This is something that really impacted real people, real events. No matter how it almost seems scripted in a way, some of the details because of how the events played out, but it is real. And so, yeah, that playlist, I think it would be something that people, even this upcoming anniversary, can go back to. Certainly, we're going to be doing some things to recognize the anniversary, which we're still figuring out, obviously, but that's something that they can go back to even with new things coming out.
Absolutely. So being able to do those day-by-day videos and put that playlist in order, I really just go from the optimism of April 1st, where, everything is looking great, to, middle of April, end of April, when it's at the rock bottom, post-disaster tragedy. I mean, that being able to put that together was an emotional highlight for the channel that I hope people can I think it's interesting what you said there about how Titanic has really become almost a mythological thing. Because we've started to see that, the survivors have all passed away. In many cases, their immediate descendants, their children, some of them have passed away. And now you're getting to grandchildren, great-grandchildren, further and further removed. The human connection is in many ways lost. And I know that we feel a great responsibility for helping to preserve what they experienced on that night and the scale of the human tragedy, whether it was Titanic or Lusitania, which we've worked on a lot. I mean, well, while we were launching the channel, we were also finishing up the second volume of Lusitania, an illustrated biography, and all of the finds that we made for that publication, and the in many ways emotionally devastating when you go through the aftermath of the sinking, when you're, because it wasn't just 20 minutes that the ship took to sink. It was the people were in the water afterwards, the body recovery, it was difficult for us even to get through that book. But hopefully hopefully the work that we're doing is preserving that history and keeping it solidly grounded, almost as a touchstone. AI is doing its thing over here. There's a lot of clickbait doing its thing over there, but this is the people who've been on the ground doing the research, doing the history work for so long, putting our work in books on a scholarly level, and now we're just trying to keep current and make sure that we're bringing that level of information, that quality of information, even though we make mistakes from time to time, but keeping that quality of content there and making it available for people around the world, wherever they are, in the comfort of their homes, their living rooms, or on their smart devices, on their phones.
Mm-hmm. Besides the day by day series and those videos, there's some other ones that I think stand out to me. And of course, this is kind of a blast from the past, so to speak, but the In Their Footsteps, the Thomas Andrews episode, a lot of viewers will realize this, and some may not, but this was a documentary that we worked on with Tom years ago that was on Part-Time Explorer, and that was something that was originally intended to be a series of different episodes on where people were and when. And I've always thought this was a phenomenal documentary. I'm not saying that because we were involved, but just the level of care that Tom put into this and the individuals he interviewed and that helped him out in Belfast and all over the world. It really makes you feel like you get to know Thomas Andrews as a person and who he was. And that documentary, we were able to work with Tom, that has come over to our channel, and obviously Tom's a key member of our channel. It's not just Kent and I. Tom is the member of the Three Amigos here with that. But we were able to update the research, the quality of the material, and re-release that, and that has continued to be a video that people view. So it continues to get a lot of watches, which we're thrilled about, because Thomas Andrews deserves recognition. He kind of has become a mythological figure in a lot of ways, but this is a guy that was a father that deeply cared about the workers in the shipyard, and really in that day and age when it was kind of the dawning of the labor movement and anti-child labor laws and improving the quality of life for individuals. That was just at the dawn of that, very much where there was a lot of retrograde conditions in workplaces, particularly in industry back in that time period. This is an individual that clearly cared deeply about the workers and their safety and well-being, and that's reflected on what a lot of people said about him while he was still alive, and then of course in after the aftermath as well. But it wasn't just people saying nice things because of what happened to him.
Yeah. I've seen other people copy that episode style since the first iteration of it came out on Tom's channel back in, I think it was mid 2021. But I don't think that anyone had ever done a full documentary on Thomas Andrews, his life, his work, his personality, and what he experienced during the maiden voyage and during the sinking, and including getting what happened to him at the end right, because you watch the movies and you think he was in the smoking room in a daze, and but that you and I have for years been trying to get the point across that that's not where he was at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anyone had. I don't know if you saw an episode that was done, a documentary about Andrews before that, but I had never seen one myself, and I've seen it copied since. But it is such a nice thing to be able to put that together and put that out there and make that public.
For sure. In another episode that I really enjoyed working on, and it was building off of some research that we had done originally. Bill Wormstead had written a side box for recreating Titanic, And the episode where we did Revealing Titanic's Iceberg, Identifying a Killer, that was based on originally the side box that Bill had constructed for recreating, and we had basically had slated for inclusion in that book. And we went over our word count. The publisher was fantastic. It wasn't the publisher pressuring us to cut this, but we, at the end of the day, we had to go through the content and figure out what we really wanted to include and not. And we made the hard decision to cut out that side box that really went into which candidates for being the iceberg that Titanic hit have a case for being that actual iceberg, or if any of them. And it was kind of a side diatribe, so to speak, in the book. We thought it was a really interesting one, but just given where the location was going to be in the book, it didn't work for that format. So we were able to, for lack of a better way of saying it, recycle it for the channel. But we didn't just repeat what was in the book. We were able to expand and update it. And
a lot of fresh research.
Yeah. And Henning Pfeiffer and Gunther Babler from the Swiss Titanic Society have been doing some phenomenal research on the iceberg, and they were very helpful when we did this documentary. They have a book that is coming out. We're not sure the exact release date. We're going to be updating once we get that from them, but they shared some of the information in advance, and we were careful. We didn't want to obviously put things out there that haven't been published yet. That's their right to present that to the public and get full credit for that. But they were generous in sharing what they could in the meantime. And we've learned a lot of things that we didn't realize at the time we were writing this subject for recreating. Yeah. There's a lot of details that we were able to discover just through the process of working on this video.
In essence, the content of the video is better than the side box would have been back in 2022 when we were releasing Recreating. And was really interesting to me is that it's even led to a couple of neat finds even since we've released that episode. Nothing that would revise the content of the episode, because let's face it, the episode wasn't about eliminating every other possible iceberg that was ever photographed and a postcard, made, and someone wrote, "This is the iceberg that sank Titanic," because let's face it, there were a lot of photos. It was a popular thing to do if you were in the North Atlantic in April, May, and over the summer of 1912, is if you could snap a photo of an iceberg, it usually ended up in the newspaper as maybe this was the iceberg that sank Titanic. But we were really focusing on some of the major candidates, the Prince Adelbert iceberg, which is so enshrined in the collective memory through A Night to Remember, the film. The iceberg in that movie is shaped very much like that iceberg. That was one of the ones that we wanted to make sure that we pointed out it was wrong place, wrong time, wrong shape. But since we've made those discoveries, even since the episode came out, we've been able to turn up a little bit more information. I know that's one of the things that we're going to make public in the near future on the channel. Some of the extra goodies that we've picked up about the icebergs that were in that area, and you'll stay tuned on the channel. You'll hear some more about that too.
Yeah, and I think, like Kent said, there's nothing that would revise our opinion that the iceberg spotted from the Bremen, which the so-called Rohoric iceberg, is the most likely candidate. But there's some really fascinating information that we found in response to some questions from people, and also in response to some things that we've kind of stumbled across as a result of our research for this original video, that we think people are going to be very interested to see, and it will add another chapter, so to speak, to this story, which we're excited to present to people here, hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun in the future. I know for me, one of the highlights is an episode we just released quite recently, which was Titanic's mystery ship meets her tragic fate, about the SS Californian. And that was an interesting episode to me, because when people hear Californian, you always think about the Californian controversy, which there really isn't that much controversy about it these days. I know we've gotten some comments on the channel from some people who said, they didn't see the rockets. They're clearly dealing with older, outdated research. But this episode really didn't focus on April 14th, 1912, and what Californian did or didn't see, because that's pretty well been established by now. But this episode really focused on something that nobody talks about, and that is what happened to Californian after Titanic. And our colleague Joshua Anderson Raymer did a lot of research and writing for this episode, and he put over a year of research, I want to say, into that particular episode. Isn't that right?
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing about this, just for some context, is our other colleague, Mike Poyer, and I, when we wrote Into the Danger Zone, which is about the first battle of the Atlantic during World War I, we tried to find more information. It wasn't a major focus of our research, but we wanted to put more information about the sinking of the Californian during the war. And we found that most of the newspapers that were reporting on it simply listed the Californian amongst a whole laundry list of other ships that were sunk in the preceding days. This 1915, the U-boat campaign was underway, and it would certainly get worse as far as the number of ships sank as the war went on. But it was Californian listed amongst a handful of other ships, and then there was some mentions about the controversy in 1912 with Titanic, but no real details about anything with the sinking except for the date and that it was torpedoed. So we were kind of puzzled by why there was so little information when, even when there was censorship and hiding of information and things like that stage of the war, there was other ships that were sunk where it would have been more appropriate to cover it up. And there was very intricate details and firsthand accounts in the papers. There was just very little about it. So when Josh picked up this thread and researched this and what he found, it was kind of fulfilling something that Mike and I had not been able to do when we were at the time when we were working on that book. And it's to present that to the public, information that's never been seen beyond the basics of what happened to the ship. It seemed to resonate with people quite a bit, and I was happy to see that for Josh and the work that he put into that episode, and also for the memory of Californian.
Yeah. And she had a really incredible, I mean, the detail that Josh turned up in the research work that he did, all original research that, to my knowledge, I think same for you and Mike, nobody had ever been able to dig up and make public. And he was right there in the thick of it, looking at logbooks and original reports, I mean, positions and weather conditions, and I mean, just incredible. So that was a real delight. That was a highlight for me, being able to work with him on that episode, making that not just his work, but we would give him input, and we would, shape the conversation and how the episode was going to work, and then making it a Steam and Splendor Network production presentation, but really forwarding Josh as the driving force behind that research. So that was a real highlight for me.
And the thing that's neat about this too is not only the work he put in and putting that out there, but it's almost a multimedia presentation, because we have the video, which goes into a good amount of detail, and we have the computer generated imagery and reconstruction of California, which Alex Muller put so much time into on a very, very short timeline for us, which we're very appreciative of. But there's the video which presents the findings there, and then Josh has a scholarly article coming out in Voyage, the Journal of the Titanic International Society, which the upcoming issue, which when people listen to this, if it's close to the date of a release for this, it's the next issue coming out, and goes into great detail in a scholarly fashion. So you can watch the video and then read the article, and you kind of get the full, well-rounded picture of that. And so we're excited for that to be out in the public and for everyone to see.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know another highlight for me, because I love collaboration. I hate being a lone wolf working off on my own, in my own headspace on these projects, because I've seen people get caught up in the trap of their own thinking, so I like to have people that I can use as a sounding board, people to help keep me going when the research kind of gets bogged down. And so I really do enjoy collaborations. I think it broadens my horizons as a researcher, as a historian, as an author. And so working with the Project Vaterland team to do that video, Bigger Than Titanic, the Ballon Trio, that was a lot of fun, because let's face it, those guys, they're trying to build a ship that was bigger than Titanic, as the episode title said. But they're doing it all on their own. They're all self-funded. They are, really great guys, when we've had our conversations with them over the months. And being able to shed some light on their work and on the Balan trio, which is, let's face it, I mean, people have probably heard of Imperator or Vaterland or Majestic, Bismarck, Leviathan, Berengaria. They've heard the names, but maybe they've seen some pictures of them in an old liner book, but there's not a lot of attention that's been paid to it. And I know years and years ago, I published my very first self-published book, Atlantic Liners, in 2005, and there was a whole section that was dedicated to the Balan Trio liners. And so I've always been working on that. And so finally to be able to package that story of those three ships into an episode and to work with our colleagues over at Project Vaterland, that was really fun for me to be able to put that storyline together.
And the interesting thing with that is obviously they're a completely independent team with a very minimal budget, and they rely on donations, which we still, even now, we would encourage people to go and check out that video, follow the link, go to their website, and if they're willing to do so and have the ability to do so, to donate. But several weeks after, it might have been longer than that, it's obviously a very big logistical challenge when you have people that are living in Germany that are 6 hours ahead, and we're over in the United States, and trying to coordinate schedules in several different time zones in the US to do a podcast interview. We were able to set that up, and a few weeks later had a nice, I really enjoyed it, the follow-up conversation with them, which we released as a podcast episode that kind of goes into some of the same things as the video, but it really goes in a few different directions and gives further information that really didn't fit the video format. So that's one of those things. That's the whole point of why we do the podcast, is you get original content, but you also get content that supplements what the videos are. So that was a fun conversation with them, and I agree, that was a highlight for me this year as well.
Yeah, just tackling that myth that Titanic was the biggest ship in the world, and it was the best thing, and it was going to be that way for the foreseeable future. I love being able to sink that right off the bat in that episode and just say, no, there were bigger ships that were already under construction. That's a lot of fun to be able to tackle that kind of myth right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. But another one that was a highlight I think for both of us, not to put words in your mouth, Ken, would be the Tackling Myths and Conspiracies series, which we launched this year, was about the lifeboat drills. There's this big mythology that's been built up that there was an absolute total disregard of safety by Captain Smith and the crew, and that there were no lifeboat drills conducted, that they were all canceled, and that the crew was fumbling about on the night of the sinking because they had no idea how to operate the equipment and cost lives unnecessarily. And this episode really kind of goes into one aspect of that. And I thought that was a good opportunity to be able to dig into that a little bit more and hopefully correct some errors in the common perception.
Yeah, we really have to give a shout out to Levi Rourke, who did so much of the visual work for that episode, because it's one thing, I mean, we have, I think, one or two photographs of lifeboat drills on Olympic, after the Titanic disaster. I think we've got a really good one in the episode where they're lowering boat 9. And people are looking over the edge, and it's a good visual, but there's only so much you can do with a couple of black and white photos in telling the story of these lifeboat drills. And we again, over the years, we have to give Levi a lot of props because he's done all the animations and all this great stuff.
Absolutely.
But for that episode in particular, he was able to come up with some stunning visuals of Titanic in Southampton, weather conditions matching, sun position matching, the right lifeboats, lowering to the water, how it would work. It really brought something that has been forgotten, the lifeboat drills that so many people don't know took place. You can't, once you see the visuals of the lifeboat drill being carried out the way it was that morning, you can't forget it. And so maybe moving forward, hopefully that myth will be maybe a little more difficult for people to buy into, because now they have that visual reference. Yes, there was a lifeboat drill in Southampton before Titanic even left.
And I really feel that Levi, I know he likes to kind of operate behind the scenes and doesn't, he's a very humble individual, doesn't seek out a lot of attention or accolades, but he really deserves it. And what he did in that episode is a prime example. And obviously, there's a lot that he does on Part-Time Explorer and with HMX Studios. And the model that's in this episode for Titanic, which is Vasily Ristovic, is such a phenomenal model. Vasily is an extremely underrated artist. We featured him in recreating Titanic, and for my money, the model that he created is by far the most accurate. As far as the exterior of the ship, it really is the most accurate one that's ever been created. And that's saying something. Obviously, that's a bold statement. I realize that, but he is so talented, and the amount of technical detail and ability to recognize that he put into that is phenomenal. And then that being taken by Levi and to be able to recreate this realistic scene that illustrates something that we've read about and heard the accounts, but be able to picture it for the first time in a realistic manner is phenomenal. So that
absolutely,
yeah,
I can't agree more. I remember when after we first had partnered up with Vasily, and we were working with his model. One night I was in a call, and we were looking at the model, the way it sat when we got it, and I was asking Alex Mahler, what did he think when he looked at it? How did it look to his eye when he's looking at these different components? And he said, to me, this is Titanic. This is not, just some cheap model that you buy off the internet. This is not some, thing where there's no shear, no camber. It's not a flat model. This is as close as you can get to the real thing. I'm sure there will be other models out there that eventually will maybe rival it, but Vasily was cutting edge with the work that he did on this, and he's got such an eye for detail. And it's been a pleasure to be able to feature his model in so many of these episodes. And hopefully we've been giving him enough of a shout out too, because I know his imagery is right-clicked a lot and shared without credit. And so one of the things we've always tried to do is we've always tried to make it clear he's been behind this work that we've done. So that's been a real pleasure to be able to showcase that really piece of art that he built in our own channel. I think for me, another thing that was a highlight was actually pretty early on the channel. It goes back to mid-December. So our channel was about 2 months old when the episode came out. We've talked about Californian, but before that we talked about Carpathia. And we talked about what happened to Carpathia after Titanic sank. And like so many of the other ships that were connected to Titanic's story, Carpathia also ended up sinking during World War I. And being able to bring that story to life and bringing it out of that, April 14th to, 18th, 19th window and bring her story to a conclusion was a real delight for me as well.
And that's an interesting story by itself because, like you said, there's so many ships that were connected with Titanic that were sunk during World War I. And just statistically, people don't realize, like, you think of U-boats, you think of the wolf packs from Nazi Germany in World War II and how devastating that was on Allied merchant shipping in that war. But World War I, in a lot of ways, the U-boat campaign was even more effective from the standpoint that there wasn't effective countermeasures in a lot of cases. And by spring 1917, Germany was sinking so many hundreds of thousands of tons of shipping that Britain had to ration certain supplies, and if they had been able to maintain that, could have actually starved them out of the war, essentially. And Carpathia was one of those victims, one of like 5,000 merchant ships that were sunk. It's a staggering amount. And what was interesting is that there was some rarely seen or very little known footage taken, very high quality for the time period, of Carpathia in dock in dazzle camouflage. And there was a few still shots that were floating around on forums online, and there might have been some low quality video of that somebody had on a Discord or something like that, but it wasn't widely publicly available in any capacity, and certainly not a above board version because it's owned by Imperial War Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And we had reached out to them because we felt that was something that the public needed to see as part of this story. It's really connects, and the film of that really ended the controversy about what paint scheme Carpathia had when it was sunk. And we felt that that was something that if we could find a way to get it onto our channel and publicly available with no cost to anybody to see that, not behind a paywall, that the public would really appreciate that and enjoy that. And we reached out to Imperial War Museum, and
they were great to work with.
Yes,
they were great.
Yes. And we felt it was so important to get this out publicly that we were able to negotiate with them that this video in particular, we were not going to monetize it. So we basically got approval and were able to license this to use in the video with the understanding that this was a non-profit video. We did not make a dime off this video. And that was the whole purpose of making that publicly available with their blessing. So we're very grateful to Imperial War Museum, and that's one of the things that stand out is that they were accommodating for that purpose to get that out in the reason that we were using it.
Yeah, that was really a joy to work with them on that. And you mentioned something interesting about things being shared kind of back of house, quietly hidden away Discord channels that maybe 5 people in the world have access to. I remember that came up after we did our first Britannic episode, where we showed a very, very rare photo of Britannic in Southampton. And we've been doing this for a long time, so we tend to have a pretty good idea of the photographs that are out there and available of different ships that we've studied. And it's always difficult, like when we're doing a book, it's difficult to say this picture has never been seen before. But there's a lot of images that are very rare, they're new to the public in general. And so when we hadn't seen this photo, when our colleague, I think it was Mike Poirier, discovered the image in his research, we were really excited by it. We're like, well, this deserves an episode, because you almost never come up with a new image of Britannic that's authentic, that's real. And a lot of people, as we released the episode, were like, hey, this is great, this is exciting. And a lot of people were like, hey, this is, this image was seen before on secret Discord channels hidden behind paywalls. And I remember thinking that's not really a fair way of doing it, because we were making it publicly available for the first time. So there's a very big difference between, the Carpathia video with working with the Imperial War Museum to make that publicly available to everybody around the world, and then in the Britannic episode where that was an all new, and it really, many people had never seen that photograph before. So that was a real treat for us to be able to bring something kind of out of the dark and dusty corners, maybe of the internet where nobody has access to it, really be able to make that, wow, anybody can now see that. And that really was a delight on our end to be able to do that. It was, it's been a long year, but that was a real highlight for me too.
And I think you said it pretty well there, but it's not about who found it first and some ego thing where, hey, I found this, I'm the first one to make it public. It's about the public having access to it, no matter who's the one that did that. And yes, there may be a few individuals that have seen that particular photograph, but that getting out into the public and people being able to enjoy it and recognize it and see it is what it's about. It's not, hey, I did this or you did this or whatever else. It's not about that. It's about making this information available to the public and being able to see it. So
yeah, that's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. I think another highlight for me, I don't think we could have started this channel at a better time, honestly, because history has been going on around us in the maritime community in the period since we launched in October. Unfortunately, many would say the SS United States Conservancy, in a sense, they lost their battle of preserving United States either as a floating museum or as a remodeled cruise ship or a tourist hotel or another form of attraction. And in a sense, the ship will be preserved, because it will be sunk as an artificial reef and people will be able to dive on it, and they're going to make a shore-based museum around it. But in a sense, there was this moment where SS United States, this is it, the last time it's leaving port. This is in its original configuration, with its smokestacks, and even a shred of its original glory. This is the last time, and that was in February, that Tom, who lives in the Philadelphia area, when S's United States left, he was there with the crowds and he was filming the departure. And we realized pretty quickly that this was a moment in maritime history that needed to be preserved. And so he worked on his own channel to do an episode, but then, as one of the founding fathers, is the term that we frequently use of this channel, he shared that footage that he got of that departure with us. And we were able to put an episode together that tied that moment, that transition from, a future of uncertainty to there's a definite direction that this is going. This is the last time she's leaving Philadelphia. She's been a fixture on the waterfront there for 15, 20 years. And here's the history of the ship. Here is the moment she's leaving. And this is where it's going down the road. And so I think that was also a highlight, to be able to package up that, 70-year history of that ocean liner into an episode and frame it and put that context there of here she's going out for the last time. It's just that was a real highlight for me to be able to work on that too.
And we wanted to get that out when there was that wave of interest, because we figured there's some people that are hardcore ocean liner enthusiasts or researchers that are always going to be interested, but we wanted to capture some of that, the people that are casually interested because of all the news stories and videos and headlines that were about the United States being moved. And we figured that we can tell the story of the United States, interest some of those individuals, and then hopefully a handful of them will maintain an interest in not just the United States, but maritime history in general. And we really wanted to capitalize on that, because that's really what it's about, is preserving the memory. And the hardcore enthusiasts are always going to be there, but we wanted to hopefully hook a few more people into keeping that memory alive.
Yeah. Now, hopefully we're able to accomplish that and put that in a package that, as you say, members of the public could just see that little bit of history that all of us were kind of feeling as we watched that ship leave. What was behind it, what had gone into building the ship, even her ties through William Francis Gibbs back into the Ballon Trio, which we considered later on the channel as an interesting tie-in there, how he had designed the ship to be fireproof and the fastest ship in the world. It's just such an amazing piece of history. Now, I've got a highlight that I know you were the genesis of this, Tad, so hopefully you don't mind me revealing to the public how this all came about. I'm not a big podcast guy myself. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I've seen some podcasts that are funny. I've seen an occasional episode of them here or there. Of course, our friend L.A. Reed Beatles, she has her own podcast, which we think very highly of. We've guested on some other podcasts. But I don't typically tune into YouTube myself and just sit down. And so many podcasts are visual based, where you see people, sitting around with a big microphone, and the camera's kind of close up on their face, and you can see whether they kind of just fell out of bed, whether they kind of look greasy, whether they bothered to shave. It's like, okay, this is kind of like, all right, not really my type of thing. But I know when we started this channel, you were very keen, Tad, to do an accompanying podcast, because it is a platform that reaches a lot of people. And we talked about, well, what is this podcast going to look like? And I'm like, well, I don't want to be sitting in front of a camera, because it's not. We agreed it's not about us. It's not. Yeah, we're going to appear every now and then, but we don't want to just be the stars of the show, so to speak. We don't want to, have to smile for the camera and make like we're the main focus of it. It's not about us. It's about the research that we do. It's about the history that we present. But we're not looking for camera time. And we had talked about doing this podcast, and I think between you and me and our public and the people that are listening, I think it was an absolutely ingenious idea to do the podcast under this Steam and Splendor banner, because people listen to podcasts when they're riding to work. They want to have something that they can listen to, that they can be enthused about, that they can be interested in. And it has been a wonderful wing or adjunct to the main channel on YouTube. And so I think I wanted to set you up and say you were the driving force, you were the person with the idea, and you convinced us all that it was a really good thing to do. And I'm really glad you did. It's been a highlight to work on these episodes with you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And that's what I was hoping for, is that there's some material that lends itself less well to visual, but like we do a video and then we can do a follow-up. Like we had talked about Fatherland, how we did the video with that crew, and then we were able to follow up with a supplementary conversation about it on the podcast. And it was some things that might have been better suited for a verbal conversation rather than that. So it's been nice because not every episode that we've done has an equivalent on the channel. Some of it is original content just for the podcast. And I have a lot of highlights on that. I think the first 2-part episode that we did with Bill Wormstead, just kind of reflecting on our research and what our methodology and what we consider important is, and what we've found some of our more significant things that we've worked on. That was fun. We had Steven Schwenkert on to talk about the 6 Chinese passengers, and that was really interesting because we did that panel discussion, Bill, you and I, in Pigeon Forge with LA Beatles, and Steven was great to meet and talk to in person during that. And what I found really interesting in that episode, besides the obvious with the information about the passengers, was how he was emotionally touched by how those families were impacted as immigrants in the United States and what they went through. And then they had a really hard time after the sinking. Their lives were not great after that either. And then obviously you talked about LA Beatles podcast. Well, she came on ours and we did that whole episode on growing the community and how to make it more inclusive. It's very male dominant. How do you get more women involved and feel welcome in the community? And also the age bias where it skews older. There's a lot of people aging out of participation in that, and how do you attract younger individuals and still not just clickbait, but how do you get them really legitimately interested in the history? So that was interesting. But
yeah,
I know you had an episode that I think is your favorite, and I think it's my favorite as well. Not saying anything negative about any of the other episodes, but I just listed a number that I enjoyed immensely. But not to put words in your mouth, I want to hear what yours is. I think it's the same one as mine.
yeah. That getting to sit down with Mark Churnside and do that 2-part episode that we titled Illumination, that was a real delight, because let's face it, there is a lot of bad information out there about, Olympic and Titanic were designed on the cheap. J.P. Morgan was penny pinching, the president of r.m.s, and he was sending his people up to Belfast, and you've got to use subgrade steel and subgrade rivets, and this is just out there, and it's everywhere. We've seen it they're not documentaries, they're television programs. We've seen it in mini-series. We've seen it, it's starting to get into books. And, if you go into the archives like Mark does, Mark is, I think, the best hands-on archive digging machine that I have ever seen. He's able to take data and process it and tabulate it and correlate it and put the pieces together in context, because Olympic and Titanic, if you just look at them on their own, you might get one impression. Even when you throw Britannic in, it might give a little bit bigger picture. But it's really when you put them in the context of other ships at the time, like the Ballon Trio, like Lusitania, Mauretania, Aquitania. Mark has turned up such amazing information that dispels all of those old myths about being built on the cheap, bad quality materials, deliberately cutting the number of lifeboats, for more deck space. You hear that a lot. And getting to sit down with him to do this episode, and we sat there for so long that it was a 2-part episode. There was no holding back. We did not. I don't think there was anything out that after we finished that episode I said, I really wish we had gotten that in there, because we really were able to hit on so many of these claims that are out there and in the ether about Olympic and Titanic. It was so important that we actually brought that podcast back on to the main channel on YouTube as an episode, and we added visuals to it so that people could really see that. I think for me, that was a real highlight to be able to do that.
I agree 100%. And one of the things about Mark, as you said, is not only his level of detail, but he does a phenomenal job of not having to rely on technical jargon to relay it to people. So this episode, well, the two parts really, people can take this and listen to it, and he puts on a clinic about the quality of construction of the Olympic class liners, highly accurate with context compared to their contemporaries, and why they were well constructed ships. And a lot of these stories about them not being are complete nonsense. It's not just him up pontificating. He cites specific examples, specific evidence, specific things from the archives. And anybody that wants to know about this, if do yourself a favor and listen to both of those episodes, part 1 and part 2. You will know the essentials of what you need to know about that, to educate yourself on that, and to even go and dig into it yourself from that point forward. It cuts through a lot of the misinformation. Unfortunately, that's an uphill battle, fighting against some of those myths that have been built up about poor steel and weak rivets and going on the cheap, and fires causing the ship to sink, and all sorts of other nonsense. And Mark is a realist. Like he does this online. Anybody that sees his participation in forums or Facebook groups or whatever it might be, is that he's not afraid to, in a very respectful manner, engage with others and say, oh, that's misinformation. Here's why. Here's the reasons of this or that. And some people will attack him personally and get nasty and make comments, and he remains professional and objective and presents the facts. And if somebody's closed-minded, they're not going to accept no matter what he says. But for those that are reasonable and actually interested in the truth, listen to this episode and you will be very well educated on these issues, at least as an overview. And then you can start doing your own research off of that if you wanted to. But Mark did a phenomenal job, and that was a really fascinating conversation for sure. Definitely a highlight.
Yeah, it was. That was a lot of fun to do that too. And he's so easygoing. You can just talk with him, and the facts and the figures and the information is all right there, handy in his mind. And then you get into this back and forth with him, and you're bouncing off of each other. And when I listened to that podcast back, I was like, no, that was really neat. There was a lot of back and forth there about all those details. That was fun. So I think that this has been a year of many highlights. And sometimes, when you're getting a YouTube channel off the ground and you're trying to get attention drawn to it because you're putting quality content together, and you just wish that everyone would understand, this isn't just your average YouTube channel. This is from the actual authors and historians behind Odyssey of Glass and recreating Titanic and Titanic solving the mysteries. These are, we've been around for a long time. We know we have some idea what we're doing, and what the facts are, and we work with people who have even more facts than us, like Mark and others. And people might wonder, how can they help? We're really just 1 year in. How can they help? How can we get off the ground? I think the first thing that we're learning is, yes, YouTube does have algorithms, and we were warned about this. Tom runs his channel, Part-Time Explorer. He knows all about the algorithms and how, a catchy thumbnail or a catchy title, can help people to, when they see it, they go, oh, that looks interesting, and click on it if they've never watched our channel before and if they don't know who's doing this. But for everyone that's already subscribed, and maybe they're listening to this podcast and like, yeah, what can I do? The number one thing you can do, watch our content when it comes out. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've clicked the bell so that you're notified when our content comes out. Traditionally, we release on Fridays, but every now and then there's a slight schedule shift, and it's not every week like clockwork. Sometimes we'll release 2 in 1 week, and then we'll skip a week or 2. But watch the content because we've prepared it for you. Enjoy it. If you like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, because oddly, that helps. It's not just feedback for us where we see a number of people who gave us a thumbs up, but if you give the episode a thumbs up, that tells YouTube, oh, people they're not just tuning in, they like the video, and then it recommends that to even more people. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you watch the content when it comes out, give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying it. All of those are things that you can do that will help make sure that this content is given to a wider audience. It's recommended by YouTube, and it does get caught in the algorithm so that more people can see it. The other thing is, you have an open line of communication with us in the comments section of the video. Maybe, do you want to talk a little bit about the comments section, Tad?
Sure. But to your point about why the likes are important for the algorithm and the videos, the whole reason we're doing this is to get this information and material in front of as many people as possible. And obviously we strive to do that with our books as well, but as we've said earlier in this episode, the reality is that times have changed. Print books are never going to go away completely, but there's some people that don't necessarily want a print book and aren't going to read a print book. So this is a good way to do that. And essentially, we're not a corporation, but that's a big thing with schools and colleges and corporations. They all have a mission statement. We have our own essential, we don't call it a mission statement, but that's kind of what it is. And it's at the Steam Splendor Network, our goal is to bring high quality historical content that both captivates and educates. Well, to captivate and educate, we need people to see it. So that's where that really helps us. But the comment section, that's something that does play into the algorithm as well. But from a more straightforward manner, if there's a question that you have that is pertinent to the episode, obviously we try to answer as many questions as possible. Sometimes we get some that have nothing to do with the episode, and we try to shy away from that because we want to keep on topic. But if you do have something that comes up in the episode that you have a question about, or just a comment or a thought that you wanted to share, we enjoy interacting with the viewers and responding to those. And I would say, like, I think we said this earlier in the episode, but there's probably about 99% of those comments that we do at least say something back. We try to read every single one of them. That's not always easy, but that engagement helps get the videos in front of more people. And it's also a way that viewers can interact with us. And if they do have any thoughts or questions that they wanted answered, we want to give them an opportunity for that as well. So that certainly helps us out by doing that.
And if you've ever left a comment for us and we've missed either giving you a thumbs up or a like or a thank you in return, we do apologize for that. It does happen from time to time, especially when we've dropped a new video and the comments are coming in fast and furious. But we really try. We also try to keep the conversation positive. Because let's face it, there's a lot of negativity out there, a lot of people arguing about different things, and there's some controversial subjects that we touch on, and sometimes people will want to try to pick a fight or they'll argue with us. And so what we try to do is we try to keep that conversation going in a positive direction all the time and make sure that it's a safe space. This is not just your typical entertainment. This is a space for education. This is a place where people can learn. And we want everyone, no matter what age they are, whether they're, 60, 70, 80 years old and, they've been learning this for a long time, or whether they're, a toddler, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, that's just tuning into, our work on YouTube. We want this to be a safe place for everyone in the community. So we always try to keep those conversations going in a positive direction too. So feel free to reach out. And honestly, it's hard work to keep this channel going, and it can be draining sometimes. And just attaboy or thank you so much for doing this, it really can help us when we're having a rough day cutting the next couple of episodes. So we really appreciate that feedback from everyone too.
And there's some other ways that individuals can help with the channel as well. And we're not ones that are going to go out and beg for money, or we understand that some people can afford more than others, and some people aren't in a circumstance where they can afford to do this, and that's completely okay. But if anyone is interested in joining our Patreon as a paying member, that's something that helps us out, and I'll go into that a little bit. We're very proud that all of the content that we offer, both on the podcast and on our channel, is 100% free. We pledged when Kent and Tom and I were talking about this channel, is that we weren't going to hide it behind a paywall. There's been some other efforts over the years for Titanic related content where it's pay only, or you have to subscribe or do this or do that, and it's like, we didn't want that to be the case. So if somebody is not in a position where they can afford to donate or subscribe to Patreon or whatever else, the material is still accessible. But the truth is, working on this material, it takes time, it takes research, and it does take resources. So if you do join our Patreon, if you're willing to do that, obviously we're extremely grateful for that. But you're not just supporting the channel, you're helping us really dive deeper into history. It allows us to create more intricate visuals, which there's a cost associated with that. It allows us to access rare materials, dig into archives if we need to get copies of things. And that really helps each episode be even better than what it is. So if you enjoy what we're doing and you want to see more, not to sound like a PBS pledge drive here, but if you'd be willing to join our Patreon as a paying member, that really helps us keep this content free for the general public and fascinating for everybody. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like, well, don't you have ads? Don't you have ads in your episodes and don't you get money from that? Well, I think a lot of people don't realize until you're a YouTube creator and with a monetized channel, because the free channel is not set up this way at all, but a monetized channel, you don't realize how much of what little ad revenue does come through is taken out before the creators even see it. So, every time that there's a super chat, a large portion of that super chat goes right to YouTube. And so when you're supporting us on Patreon, that's a more direct channel to financially helping us to keep going. And we've set up 3 different classes of Patreon membership. Third class is the base level, but you do get your name printed on the screen at the end of the episode. When you make the jump up to second class, we give you a verbal shout out for your name. Although I think we're getting enough people in second class so that it's going to be difficult in those few seconds in that ending credits. We may have to make a longer sail away scene at some point for second class. But for first class, what's really nice is not only do you get your name, the verbal shout out, but we just had recently our first Zoom meeting with first class patrons. We pledged to do a once a year Zoom meeting with our first class patrons, not for secret content, but just to interact with them, to thank them for their financial contributions, their assistance, and really to let them have a voice so that we're not just guessing at this, but what do they want to see in the channel moving forward? What questions might they have about what work we're doing or where the channel's going in the future? And that was a really nice meeting. I think we spent about an hour. We sat down with Bill Sauter and Tom and both of us, and Bill Wormstead was there because, let's face it, Bill is a shadowy figure who's both Bills in our hemisphere are shadowy figures, sticking very much to the sidelines, but helping us every step of the way to make the quality of content better. So that was a really nice thing to be able to sit down with the first class patrons and do that. And it's a way of showing our thanks for that financial support that first class patrons show. So if you can join at any class level, it's wonderful. It helps us to keep going. There is a financial investment for all of the time that we put in, and we all have families, but there's also an emotional investment in it. I think it would be a human investment because of all the work that goes into this by so many different people behind the scenes. And so we want to thank everyone, whether it's Levi or Alex or Tom or so many of the other people who've been involved in making this channel a success. And when you support us on Patreon, that is a real way that you can help us make a go of this and keep bringing you that high quality content moving forward.
And it's important to note that if you go onto the Patreon site, you'll see we have the perks listed for each class level. But one of the really nice things is that our paying patrons do get early access to both the podcast and the videos when they come out. And some of that information, like I said, a lot of what we present, we try to bring out new findings, new information. And for example, the episode on California, and that literally was the first group that wasn't directly involved with the research that got to learn that information and see that information were our patrons. So you can find information on how to join if you are interested. And again, we're extremely grateful for anybody that is. In our podcast episodes, the description, we list the link for that, and then also in our video description. So we just would be thankful for anybody that would consider doing that to help support the channel.
And there are benefits to having a YouTube channel that you can't get from books. I think books are always going to be that gold standard because you can put the scholarly references, you can put the endnotes in, you can say where you found this tidbit, why you reasoned this out. And our 2-volume Lusitania book set, we were thrilled to hear that the first volume, which came out last year, was recently nominated for Book of the Year for the Maritime Heritage Award. That was you could have knocked me over with a feather when you found that announcement. It really was a wonderful thing to be able to put those books together. But books also have disadvantages. Number one being they age. If you go back to some of the older Titanic books that you and I grew up with, like A Night to Remember and so many others, sometimes I'll read it and I'm like, oh dear, the research in here is way out of date compared to where we are today. And sometimes it's very difficult for authors to go back to their publishers and convince the publishers, hey, it's time for a new edition because I've got all this great research, and now this person didn't get into this lifeboat, they got into that lifeboat, so it's a little teeny tiny tweak, but it's going to be important to everybody. And the publisher's like, no, that's not enough for us to do another edition because that's a big financial investment. So books age out over time. But with the channel, that allows us the flexibility to look at trends in real time, to see what nonsense the AI pages are posting, or the latest horrific miniseries that's been bolted together about Titanic, and to say, okay, what are the main things in here that are historically wrong? What needs attention? What does the public need to be able to know so that they don't get a misimpression or a distortion of the facts committed to their memories? And with a book, it would be a year or more before you'd be able to catch up with that. But with the channel, we could drop an episode literally within a week that hits something major, and no, this isn't right. This is the real way it happened, and this is why. And it really, and having the historians behind it, not AI, not people who like to cut and paste from other people's, having people who've been in the field, who've done the research for 20, 30, 40 years working behind the scenes on this channel, it really gives a lot of stability, a lot of gravitas that many other channels don't have. And so we're able to very quickly draw on a wealth of data that we have available to us, research that we've been collecting for so long, and to package it up in a way that's interesting, and then to put it before the public, the entire world, and say, this is the fact. This is the most recent research. This is why that theory is wrong. This is why that myth is wrong. This is why that conspiracy is wrong. And it really, when you're supporting our channel financially, whether it's through Patreon or just by watching and subscribing and helping that to get it, it makes it so that more people have access to good information. So we really have to thank all of our subscribers, all of our viewers, and all of our Patreon supporters, or those who buy us a cup of coffee, because that's the other option we have in there. Thank you all for your time, your patience, your support. We couldn't do this without all of you. We appreciate it.
Yes, just to second that, thank you so much. And I guess that leaves, this has been a great conversation today, and I almost hate for it to come to an end. It's like I love reflecting back on what's happened this year, and all the highs, and I don't really think there's been any lows other than being tired from working on it. but so the question is, what lies ahead, and what do the younger generation say? Spill the tea. Well, we can't spill too much of it for obvious reasons, but yeah, let's talk a little bit about what lies ahead.
Yeah, I like that thought a lot. I think there's one that, it's kind of out there. If people wanted to kind of sit there and think about it, they could probably guess at one of these things that lies ahead, because we've already opened the series with the Lifeboat Odysseys, Lifeboat number 2. And there's a little bit of a backstory there. Back around 2021, mid-21, late 21, we had done the Odyssey of Lifeboat number 2 on Tom's channel, Part-Time Explorer. And just the same way as it was in their footsteps, we had this, we were going to do a whole series, and then life happened. Steam and Splendor didn't exist at that point. And one of the things that we wanted to do when we started Steam and Splendor is we wanted to say, let's take those two ideas that we had and never were able to follow up on, and let's actually follow through on them. So we brought lifeboat number 2 over, we updated it, we revised it so that it would look fresh. But there's 19 other lifeboats to Titanic's story. So I think if anybody really wanted to guess some of the things that lie ahead, that would probably be an easy one to take a stab at and hit head on.
I think I can hint at something else, but it's going to be so vague, people are going to be angry at me. Obviously, there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of crazy information that's online that's repeated over and over and over again, ripped out of other books, copied and pasted in, and people believe it. So our mission here obviously has always been to correct errors in the historic record, whether that's mistakes that crept in 1912 or more modern things that have crept into the public consciousness. So I'm not going to say what those specific things are, but there's dozens and dozens of subjects that we could be talking about, and I'm very excited about some of the episodes we are in the early stages of working on, because we really want to get the best quality information out, and we have some really interesting findings and some interesting things that we are going to be producing episodes about that we're very, very eager to make available to the public. And I wish I could say more, because it's very exciting. I think people are going to really like it based on how they've reacted to some of the other videos we've done already. So it'll be fun to present this, and we're looking forward to seeing how people enjoy that and what their thoughts are in the comment section, and as we roll these out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a maddening tease, and I know people are going to love that, and I'm sure we're going to get some positive feedback about that. The other thing that we're going to do moving forward is we have a lot of great Lusitania content coming down the chute. A lot of great Empress of Ireland content. And to give you a little context, our team works with David St. Pierre, who is the foremost Empress of Ireland historian that I've ever met. I'm sure there's others who are very good at it, but David is, if you want to talk about Empress, you want to talk to David. And the nice thing is, Tom was able to introduce us all a few years ago. And David is a great guy. He's very level-headed, very clear, able to think things through very clearly. We had a really great time working with him on our previous Empress episode, and it's going to be real nice working with him in the future on other Empress projects. I'm really looking forward to doing that, because Empress is like this forgotten subject. It's gotten a little bit of attention, but not always the right kind of attention. A lot of it has been kind of badly researched, kind of put together wrong, and people have some very mistaken ideas from that. And so it's going to be nice to actually get that record set straight working with David moving forward. And honestly, with Lusitania too, in our research for the 2-volume book set, Lusitania and Illustrated Biography, we have learned that so much of Lusitania's history is just a mess. We even discovered, everyone says Lusitania sank in 18 minutes. Nope, it was 20. It could have been up to 21, but it really hits at 20. Most of the information points to 20 minutes for it to sink instead of 18, and that is just a tip of the iceberg of the information that we have waiting in store. The problem is we have to do the visuals yet, because Lusitania, the Greyhound's Wake, is not out yet, as everyone who's been waiting for that experience, that virtual museum experience, knows. It's not available yet. Well, there's a reason it's not available. It's because everything isn't quite done yet. And so once we get everything so that we can put it together in a visual way and show what we're talking about, we are absolutely going to drop some truth bombs. I think that's probably the best expression on what happened as Lusitania sank. I think people are just going to be stunned by, really.
And that's one of the things that we always wanted is obviously the book documents things and has the more scholarly approach, where it lists the sources, there's the footnotes, the raw material where people can go back and see the facts for themselves. And in fact, a little side tangent, but we've actually found more evidence about some of the things we concluded since the book came out, even though it's not been that long. But when we do videos on this material, that's making that available to a whole other group of individuals who may not have bought the book or don't have the ability to buy the book. And that's always been our intent, is to get that information out there. I know not everyone is a traditional book reader, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you who've been following our work so far, hopefully this is just a little teeny tiny taste of what we've got, and it kind of whets the appetite. Hang in there with us, be patient with us while we work on things like visuals and CGI, because let's face it, our guys have to sleep sometime. So let's give them the sleep that they need so that they can put together some real good quality content moving forward without absolutely losing their mind and their social lives and their families and everything. And it's going. We have a lot of good stuff ahead, and we hope all of you hang in there with us and enjoy this kind of deep dive or journey of discovery, however you want to phrase it, moving forward.
So we have an exciting announcement. We're going to be doing a giveaway for subscribers on our channel, and the video on YouTube that was posted on October 18th, which you can't miss it because it's the one with Kent talking about anniversaries. Make sure you're subscribed, and then comment with the word entry in all caps, and we're going to be doing a drawing on November 1st for a content package, which Ken is going to describe here momentarily.
Yeah. So in order to enter, you have to be two things. You have to be a subscriber. We have to have your name in our subscriber list, and you have to leave that comment on that specific video, entry in all caps, and then you'll be entered for the drawing. And I think we're going to do the drawing about November 1st. We're going to give it a couple weeks for people to find the video, put their entry in, get a nice list of names, and then we'll do that drawing. But there's going to be two prizes. For first place, the first place winner is going to get a signed and numbered set. So Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Lusitania, an illustrated biography. And that comes with the certificate of authenticity, the special number and a signature plate signed by all the authors, a custom bookmark for each of the two volumes. That's the first place winner. If you haven't had a chance to pick up that, those two books yet, this is your opportunity to get them, and that's going to be a real nice thing. Second place is we really didn't talk about the White Star Line Quintet very much this evening on this podcast, but they have been instrumental every step of the way, no pun intended, in putting so much of this content together and in bringing the music of Titanic's time back to life. And so for the second place winners, the giveaway is going to include a physical copy of each of the first two albums released by the White Star Line Quintet through HFX Studios. The first one is An Evening to Remember, and the second one is An Evening to Live On. And along with those one of each CD, you'll also get a set of replica postcards that feature original Olympic class advertising artwork. So two prize winners from this contest. Make sure you get your entry in before the end of October, and then once we get those entries in and we do our drawing, then we'll be doing an announcement of who the winners are, and we'll be contacting you so that we can send these prizes out.
That's exciting, and I think people will really enjoy those prize packages. So yeah, make sure you subscribe and enter that competition. So we're thankful for everybody that's joined us on this journey over the last year. We've said it a number of times this episode, but it's hard to believe it's been that long already. But we're extremely grateful for the support and reception we've had with this, and that people are enjoying and learning a lot from what we're putting out there. So thank you. That's all I can say. And
we can't say that enough. Thank you so much. And thanks for tuning into this podcast. Make sure you get notified of all of our new content as it becomes available. Follow our Steam and Splendor Network page on Facebook and our Instagram page, and look for it, because we try to keep our viewers involved on a regular basis. And here's to the years ahead. We've had a great first year. Our first anniversary is here, but we're not popping the champagne yet, because we have a lot of great stuff ahead of us. So we hope you hang in there with us, and we hope you enjoy the ride.
That we're just getting started. So looking forward to the year ahead, and hopefully we'll talk to all of you soon. Thank you.
A special thank you to our supporters on Patreon, including Dean McIntosh, Evan Fleming, Lucas Sidlowski, Charlotte Zurich, Bluebird Nut, Martin Cahill, Sam Forker, Maximilian Metcalf, Nikki Chan 92, Rachel Warner Sanchez, Leslie Sheldon, Jason Stray, Roadway Wiz, and Snow Monkey.